Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, May 25th, and it is a white cohort day. Seniors, don't forget to stop by the headmaster's office to grab your cap and gown. Also, if you have paid your graduation fee, please stop and pick up your graduation tickets. No one will be allowed to enter graduation without tickets this year, so please don't forget to stop in and grab them. If you have any questions, please see Mrs. Lejeune and the headmaster's office. Attention students, let's talk Chromebook. For seniors, if you have an Academy Chromebook, we will need to see you in the IT office, Colby 310, by tomorrow. For all freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, if you will be returning to the Academy next year, then you will be able to keep your Chromebook over the summer. If you are not returning to the Academy next year, then we will also need to see you in the IT office, Colby 310, by tomorrow. AP students who have an exam tomorrow, please check your SCJ Labs email today for important exam day instructions. Attention seniors, it is time to select our class song. Please check your SCJ Labs email for senior song selection and cast your vote for class song by 8:30 today. If you were issued a Verizon MiFi hotspot to help you connect to the internet for school, the IT department asks that you please return the unit by Friday, June 4th. If you have credit recovery work to do or are taking courses during the summer, please email ithelpdesk@scjlabs.com so we can make note of this. The hotspot can be returned to IT in Colby 310 or dropped off at the main office. Attention students taking AP Seminar or interested in taking AP Seminar next year. Our first unit in the fall will kick off with John Krakauer's Into Thin Air. The English department has a limited number of copies to lend out. Contact Ms. Drew to sign out a copy. Email her at angela.drew@scjlabs.com or stop by Ranger 108 before or after school. Students, it is the last week of school and many of you have calculators that need to be returned. Please drop off your calculator in one of the following locations: to your teacher in Mr. Cancella's office in Severance 26 by the elevator, or in the Capstone office on the second floor of Colby. Also a reminder, there is a $100 fee for unreturned calculators, so don't forget to drop it off today. Attention rising sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Are you interested in learning about sustainability on small family farms through hands-on experiences? How about sharpening your ballet or modern dance technique, or preparing for AP Calculus in the fall with a pre-calculus course? You should check out SJA's Summer Academic Sessions course offerings. We are offering 12 different in-person classes for local students, along with 2 virtual classes for our boarding students. These classes will run for either 4 or 5 weeks, and students can earn credits by passing them. With classes offered from almost every department on campus, you'll be sure to find something you'll love. Please email Mr. Baker in admissions at david.baker@scjlabs.com for more information. Attention writers and musicians. The Vermont Young Writers Conference will be held virtually from June 24th to 27th for students from all around the U.S. Workshops will be offered in fiction, poetry, creative, nonfiction, dramatic writing, and songwriting. There will be workshops, craft sessions, open mic opportunities, and poetry slams, and moth slams. The conference is open to students grades 9 to 12. Please contact Mrs. McKenzie at jennifer.mckenzie@stjlabs.com for more information about how to apply. Happy birthday today to Nathaniel Bernier, Maggie Zhao, Nathan May, Ben Morse, and Maple Bonatelli. Happy birthday. Today we have varsity softball and baseball at CVU at 4:30. Please dismiss the teams at 12:45. JV baseball at CVU, or versus CVU at 4:30. Please dismiss the team at 2. Boys varsity ultimate versus Colchester at 4. Girls ultimate at CVU at 4. Please release the team at 12:30. Varsity JV boys lacrosse at Colchester at 4:30 and 6. Please release varsity at 1 and JV at 2:30. Varsity JV girls lacrosse versus BFA St. Albans at 4:30 and 5:45. Thank you and have a great day.
Let's give Ashley a round of applause for her first announcements this morning. Good job, Ashley. I just handed her this novel of announcements for her first day. So welcome to the Keach, Kinsella, and Kendall advisories who are here today, and we have a nice crowd. So I'm here this morning with 2 purposes, and the first is to welcome a student speaker whose story is very meaningful and moving to me, and whose voice I'm eager for you to hear and to honor. It's going to be a important and serious day today here in chapel, because I want to be sure that we don't let this day go by without a measure of remembrance, because it was a year ago today that in the course of a routine and nonviolent apprehension, a Minneapolis policeman, Derek Chauvin, knelt on the neck of an African-American man, George Floyd, for 9 minutes until he died. It was a day when the world was profoundly shocked by what we saw. When the scrims of social order that usually hide the persistence of toxic racism in our country were pulled aside by a video that didn't allow us to look away. By all accounts, in every rational and informed estimation, it was an act of terror. And it was not an aberration. It was not some one-off or some uniquely violent act. It was of a piece with acts already happening and that continue to happen, one after another in this country. Every time this happens, every time yet another individual is handed a death sentence without a trial, every time this happens, we are all injured. All of us who want America to be safe are injured. Even those who don't feel the actual pain and fear, and so many of us will never feel that, not really. Even we are injured. George Floyd's murder last summer shook the world, and we are still shaken. Let's not forget how the world convulsed in disgust. It felt like a dam breaking, with huge protests around the world, in hundreds of cities, everywhere, across the country, including here in St. Johnsbury. There was pressure to take down Confederate monuments. There was pressure to speak out institutionally against racism. There were bills to change policing and emphasize de-escalation. And there was what felt like a wave of commitment, finally, to dealing with structures and policies that stand in the way of change. The pain that came out in protests and that unleashed anger and frustration and helplessness shook us. And even with the recent trial of Derek Chauvin that found him responsible for murder, we are still shaking. I wish that in the past year we had come further than we have, that we weren't still seeing examples of hate and closed-mindedness and killings. I wish our national psyche was not still so divided with such deep conflict about basic principles and realities. I wish that the shaking would be enough to make real change. So as always, my hope for us is that we'll be able to harness the energy of good people who want to come together and overcome legacies of fear and hurt in this country. I believe that in this school, and I believe that the things we do here to approach, not to look away from difficult realities, is a powerful antidote to ignorance and hate and division and injustice. This school exists to foster truth-seeking, to teach you to love and respect each other, to come together across lines of difference, and to build understanding of our shared humanity and our roles as citizens, and I cherish this. George Floyd did not deserve to die a year ago today. We have so far still to go. And if we want to make progress, we need equal parts patience and impatience. We need to listen to one another more carefully and more thoroughly than we ever have. And we also need to act. We need to be unafraid to act in the best interest of those who need it most. Great institutions whose missions are essential, like this one, take crises and challenges and use them to improve and thrive. And I believe that we're going to do that here, because I don't think our students will stand for failure. I'm committed to expanding our efforts to be an institution that's actively fighting against racism and all forms of oppression and ignorance that were built into our systems. And that includes gender-based oppression of every kind. I'm honored and privileged to invite Emerson Jolliffe to the stage this morning to tell their story. Emerson.
Hello. As Dr. Howell just said, my name is Emerson Jolliffe, and I have been openly non-binary for now a little over 3 years. Before I start my chapel talk, I would just like to give a warning that this subject does touch on some darker topics such as suicide and death, as well as just transphobia and homophobia. So if you are uncomfortable with any of those subjects, please feel free to leave the room or the Zoom link, and have an amazing day. As a bisexual and non-binary individual, bigotry and general misinformation is a large issue in my day-to-day life. Today, I will be talking about one of the more problematic of the two issues, which is transphobia. People don't always realize how large of an impact a single pronoun can have on someone's life. And people don't always realize that transphobia isn't just calling someone a slur or beating them up or something more dramatic. It can be smaller, more difficult to see issues. For example, something that I didn't realize was transphobic until after the situation had happened was I went to someone who was of higher power to me, and after explaining to someone else in the room my pronouns and them explaining that sometimes it's hard for them to remember pronouns, which was completely okay with me. They were very apologetic for misgendering me, and I was completely forgiving, and it was okay. I get that sometimes people make mistakes. After that, I was trying to remember someone's name, and someone made a very rude comment about how it's hard to remember people's names. I didn't realize that they were kind of making fun of the fact that I was talking to someone who couldn't remember my pronouns and correcting them, but then immediately after couldn't remember someone's name, which I didn't realize was angled towards me negatively until after the fact, when my friend was like, hey, that wasn't okay, especially since that person was supposed to be a role model to me and is supposed to respect and care about me no matter what. That being said, I wrote this talk in hopes of shedding light on how big of an impact misgendering and transphobia in general can have on an individual. When you misgender an individual, be it on purpose or a mistake, it can lead to damaging outcomes. Most of the time, people will understand if you've made a mistake that it was nothing more than that, a mistake, and will be able to forgive you. But for people who purposely misgender individuals and make jokes like, oh, well, my pronouns are normal, or well, I'm an Apache helicopter, that can lead to some devastating things. It can lead to depression and feeling angry and feeling like you aren't valid in your own skin, even when you know deep down that you are in fact valid. The discomfort and distress that comes along with having a gender identity that isn't the one you were assigned at birth is something I don't wish on my worst enemy. These feelings can cause individuals to become isolated from society or even their close friends and family, which can lead to a lack of personal hygiene, self-care, and in worst case scenarios, death. Another story that I have is, again, a bit upsetting, so I'm also reminding you that if you are upset by certain topics or feel like this might not be good for you, please leave the Zoom call or the room, because I really do not want to put any stress or discomfort on you. That being said, my 7th grade year, my online friend committed suicide. She had been struggling with her pronouns for a long time and had recently come out as transgender, male to female, and her community did not take it well. It never really occurred to me how much a single word or phrase could have on a person until this moment. At this point in time, I hadn't come out as non-binary, as I was still very, very deep in the closet. And this entire event pushed me even further into the closet for the next couple of years. Something that just is disgusting to me is that more than 4 in 5 people, which is about 83% of young trans people, have experienced name-calling or verbal abuse. 3 in 5 people, about 60%, have experienced threats and intimidation. And more than a third, 35%, of young people have experienced physical assault. And 48% of trans students and adults have tried to commit suicide, according to the CDC. And according to the CDC, 1 in every 25 suicide attempts is successful. Meaning that statistically, out of the 1.4 known trans individuals in the USA alone, 672,000 transgender individuals commit suicide out of the nearly 1 million suicides per year. And that is not okay with me. I don't like seeing my community and the people who just want to be respected for who they are, even if it's not what they were assigned at birth, being killed almost on a daily, be it by peers or themselves. I hate seeing it, and it makes me feel emotions that I can't even put into words. Now, there are different types of misgendering and transphobia, as I said before. It can be something as simple as what I said before in my story, or it can be as simple as saying, oh, well, there are only 2 genders, which, by the way, is not true. Biologically speaking, there are actually 5 genders. Well, technically 5 sexes and many, many more genders. Sorry. Students don't really, especially young people today, aren't educated enough on the topic of gender and pronouns, and it can lead to so many horrible outcomes. We need to start having these difficult talks with people and calling people out for their bigotry. It doesn't matter if it's a friend or family member, you need to talk to them. And even if you think that something like making a small joke or just refusing to call someone by their preferred pronouns is small and meaningless to you, it can change someone's entire life. So I'm sorry I was a little all over the place today, but I'd like to leave you with one thought, and it's just, if you were in that person's shoes, if you had to live your life knowing that you would not be respected for who you are on a day-to-day basis, how would you feel? And the next time you encounter someone who is transgender, non-binary, gender fluid, please just have a little bit of compassion, because small, loving moments can go a long way for people who are suffering with gender dysphoria and transphobia. Thank you.
Emerson, thank you for your courage in sharing that story and your emotions around your experience. And I'm very grateful that you ended with the sentiment that small, loving moments can change the world. It's true. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us during this serious and I hope moving chapel. We will have chapel again tomorrow morning. I think Ms. Schwanier will have a message for you. But please have a good day, and I will see you again on Thursday. Thank you.